Hey, welcome back everyone here to Veteran Nation, and as always, I am the Skipper, and thank you for joining us. I hope you've been enjoying everything that we've been doing here recently. Last week, we did a coffee review. That was our second time going over what they do over at Indies Coffee. Great company. Hope you go and support them. It's veteran owned, so, go there, support them. You can take a look at all the different coffee brands if you think. Hey, welcome back everyone here to Veteran Nation, and as always, I am the Skipper, and thank you for joining us. I hope you've been enjoying everything that we've been doing here recently. Last week, we did a coffee review. That was our second time going over what they do over at Indies Coffee. Great company. Hope you go and support them. It's veteran owned, so, go there, support them. You can take a look at all the different coffee brands. If you think I was off on my review, let me know what you think was good, what you think I got wrong. Would love to hear your comments about it. And before we get started, just remember you can always go to www.nrnplus.com/veterannation, everything all spelled out. And then you can subscribe to the show. You can subscribe to the network. You can watch then all of the great independent contributors that we have here at NRN. And yeah, you'll be supporting this show as many of the others that we have around here. And it's good to have that independent media voices out there, because right now there's a lot of corporate media. There's a lot of things in the news not being said. And with that, I'm going to talk a little bit today about what's happening in the news. As I've talked on this show before, I spent my time in Afghanistan. That was my combat tour. Did a lot of good work there. I primarily stayed upon the base where I was at. Just the job I was doing. The mission didn't call for a ton of stuff outside the wire. I did have a couple times where I went outside the wire, had my Marines going outside the wire all the time. But with my job, I had to be much more focused. Our role was as camp commandant, so we had to keep an eye over everything on base. We had to support all the war fighters out there. With what's going on in Afghanistan right now, it's a lot of changes. It's a lot of changes happening very quickly. It becomes a very chaotic situation. And with that, there's a lot of things that can happen, both good and bad. Now, For those of you who follow the show and who are in the Facebook group, you'll know that a couple months back, I actually gave an interview to Sputnik News about my time in Afghanistan, what I felt about the withdrawal timetable, where I thought it was good, where I thought it was bad, if I thought it would succeed. I hoped it would succeed, but back then you'll see I did not have a lot of confidence in the plan, and thus far I'm being proven correct. The problem with the plan has always been a couple of big things. One, it's not mission based. The whole plan that they're doing right now, it's not mission based. It has nothing to do with the actual conditions on the ground. It's just a time frame. So you have to take all those conditions, all those things that are out there, those variables, and you have to mold them to try to fit the timetable. That's very hard to do, very difficult to do. For those of us who are Marines, we study a lot about amphibious operations. Amphibious operations have tons of variables. Things change on the ground. That is where, as officers, we jokingly would say that your plan changes in the first 5 minutes of execution. That's absolutely true. It changes even more so when you add in more and more variables. So there's a lot more things that you have to adjust for. And that is exactly what we were seeing. The Taliban was not willing to wait for American forces before they started going into cities and taking them over. The Afghan military began to collapse. Yesterday, President Joe Biden gave his talks. He put a lot of the blame on the Afghan people, said that they weren't willing to fight. And I saw some people talking about that comment specifically, and I really want to get into that because personally, I was affected by that, and here's what I'm going to say. So when I was in Afghanistan, when we transitioned out, like I told you, we were a command node, we were the camp commandant, we owned battle space, so we had to be responsible for a lot of things. On the way out, that's when I really got the picture that what we were doing in Afghanistan, what the politicians were telling the media, was nowhere close to the reality. That I expected, for what they call a failure, that's what I was kind of expecting as I knock my mic out of its stand here. Hold on one second, just bear with me. There we go. So yeah, what they were saying, I could tell back then that, yeah, this is not going to end up the way that they're talking about, because it just didn't match. Just a lot of the things that you were seeing on the news didn't match what we were actually doing. Yes, we were training the Afghan security forces. Yes, we were training the Afghan police forces. But one thing that I noticed was we weren't doing much in terms of infrastructure. We were doing some infrastructure. We were going into cities, building a well, asking the farmers, what do you want? What can better improve your life here? I remember we did one project where we were giving them solar panels, so then they would have access to electricity in an area where we couldn't run electricity. I remember we had people down at the Kajaki Dam. We were trying to make sure that was producing hydroelectricity. All those things we were doing, those are all infrastructure. But what we weren't doing was building roads. We were building some buildings here and there. One thing that I always said that I felt we should have done was built a mosque. Got, some of our partners, like when I was there, we had the Bahraini police force there helping with our security. I do know that they transitioned out. We had other forces from other Middle Eastern countries, Jordan for one, that I know of. I know we had these partners with other Muslim countries where we could have had them and their contractors build something like a mosque. And if I would have done that, here's what I would have done. I would have made it huge, made it a tourist attraction, because, half of what the Taliban was preaching was that we were anti-Muslim and we were, going to do all these negative things and try to convert them and whatnot. that would have been a very big symbol. And when you talk about counterinsurgency warfare, symbols become a very important thing. They become really ultimately what you fight over, because symbols represent, the hearts and minds of the populace, as the term that they used to use. Um, so that would have been a big symbol, and it would have been something that the Taliban, had they destroyed it, it would have been against their own needs. It would have gone against their own message. So I would have done a lot more things like that. I would have built more mosques. I would have built them to where, okay, yeah, if build out of stone, so you start a fire or something, it's really still there. It's not going away. You would have to physically knock it down, and the people are going to have to watch you physically knock it down. I remember I read a couple stories about people in Vietnam, and one was by General Bing West. I'm the name of the book is getting away from me right now, but he talked about his time in Vietnam where they were partnered with a village, and after they had been attacked, they built this stone memorial to those of the village and the army who had perished, and that stands still today. The Vietnamese government, even though it's communist government, would love to tear it down, still can't today because it means something to the people. So that is a symbol that is so far standing the test of time. Those are the type of things I would have done in terms of trying to convince the people. Other things, I would have built roads. There's one highway in Afghanistan, goes around the whole thing. We jokingly called it Highway 1 Afghanistan. And that's the main road. That's how our trucks moved around. The Taliban used it as well. I would have built more roads, because when you build more roads, one, if it's a new road, it's going to be harder for you to plant IEDs on a brand new road. It's going to stand out. We definitely could have employed a lot more Afghanis, taught them about, here's how you maintain the road, built those government structures to do more projects like that. And, that would have, it also would have funneled traffic. And when you funnel traffic down roads, it's very easy to keep control of those roads. And I'll give you a great example. We have the U.S. highway system. There's always police. We have helicopters and everything patrolling those roads. It's not like back in the 1970s, Dukes of Hazzard taking the back roads and jumping over a river. That's an American example. Those days of moonshine runners and things like that are gone. You don't see that type of stuff here because we have in the 1950s they invested in the highways. We have a much better road structure that we upkeep and maintain, and it lends itself to security. And it also shows that the government is able to function. Now, one other thing that happened to me while I was in Afghanistan, and this was right as we were getting out, we were preparing to leave and doing awards for those who had done great work. And I remember they broke our unit up into 3 sections for awards boards so that we could process them very quickly. So 1/3 got one part of the awards, the second third got the second part, third got the third. So I had mine, and that was what I did every night before I went back to my can to sleep in the rack. We were in these trailers, we called them cans. So every night before I went to the can, I would sit there and I would read through all these awards. I would make notes. I would say, I would reword this. I would change this. Here's what's good. Does it meet the criteria of the award? Does it not meet the criteria of the award? Should it go up? Should it go down? And I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you the name of the first lieutenant. The name escapes me, but I remember he was with one of the Afghan, what we called the border mentor teams, which was he was with the Afghan, I believe that was the Afghan National Army. And I was reading this award, and I remember it was for a Navy Achievement Medal, which is a great award. Great award. I don't want to demean it in any way. But, when it comes to, an NCO, that's for an NCO who does a great thing. For an officer, it's, hey, this guy came here, he did his job, did it well. There you go. Boom. But it wasn't like he really went above and like it says above and beyond, but it wasn't like he was walking on water type of thing. That would be for a couple other medals. And I was reading this award, and oh, he processed this many people, trained this many people, da 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 da, all good. But then it finished up with an incident where I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm hearing this. And it was talking about how the Afghan National Army that he was with, the platoon, was starting to mutiny against its officers because they had not gotten paid. What corruption was very frequent out there, and the officers were notorious for taking the pay and not giving it to the soldiers. And they were going to storm in and pretty much kill the officers and take their money. And I can't necessarily blame them. I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. I mean, they were being robbed, and while they were putting their lives on the line, and this Marine Corps lieutenant, stood in between them and the officers. He pulled his sidearm, and it was very clear that he pulled his sidearm and said, "Look, I will sit here and I will listen to you. But if you try to get in there and kill your bosses, you're going to have to contend with me. And I'm going to be the first to go." And they stopped the mutiny. They sat down. They said, "Here's our grievances. We have not gotten paid. We have not done this." And he said, "Okay, I hear all of you. I am going to. I will tell you this. I will do my best to get you your money. All I'm asking, do not take any actions right now." That officer then went to his superiors, also the Marine Corps superiors and the Afghan superiors, and said, "Look, if these guys don't get paid, they're going to kill you. And, you're robbing them." So the officers ended up giving the money to the soldiers. That is a perfect example of some of the challenges that we were facing out there, we as a whole. Now, with that, I use that as a prime example of, in many countries, a lot of Americans don't understand that corruption is very inherent in the systems. That it's just kind of viewed as, no, this is the way it is. And when we go into other countries, the American public doesn't quite understand that. And for those of us in the military, when you hear fraud, waste, abuse, that type of thing, we understand that in some ways, this is an aspect of doing business. It really is. If you're going to have to deal with some shady individuals sometimes. So we know that. We operate within the guidelines, within our left and right lateral limits that we're given. And that is the challenge of what your military goes through. Now, for that young lieutenant, again, I wish I had written down his name or at least noted the award because I could look it up. I immediately circled that I highlighted that section, and as we were doing awards, it was notorious to see senior officers write awards up for them, for each other, that included a lot of stuff that they honestly didn't do. I would frequently go into my executive officer's office and be like, "Look, I'm just going to rant right now. This guy's saying this. He didn't do that. I did that. This guy's saying this. He didn't do that. That guy did this." Those type of things. In fact, someone said very frequently, right now in the military and in a lot of government, you're seeing what's known as the Peter Principle. So take a look at that, and very true, very common from what I'm saying. And, this is why a lot of good NCOs, junior officers were getting frustrated. They were seeing essentially corruption at the higher levels of our leadership, where they were taking care of each other type of thing, which is absolutely not what you should be doing as an officer. You should be looking out for, your subordinates. And so I had my vent sessions where I would go off. My XO would say, you know what, I totally hear you, I agree with you. um, I'm doing everything I can to stop this very stuff. Make all your notes, and if I have to downgrade this award, that's exactly what I would do. And I did that. But then that one, I walked in and I said, sir, I'm just going to give you this award. I gave it to him. I said, I'm not putting any notes on it. It is put in for a Navy Achievement Medal. I believe in my heart, reading this last couple lines, this lieutenant deserves a Bronze Star. He put down a mutiny single-handedly, put his life on the line, and was willing to fight several individuals who were much more significantly armed than him. This is hero type of shit. Excuse my language. But this individual is only being put in for a NAM. I just did his boss's award, who's getting put in for a Defense Superior Service, or something, Meritorious Service Medal, something crazy. I can't remember exactly what, but this cat just wants on TV. But yeah, I was like, this guy actually did heroic stuff, and they're just going to give him a NAM, which NAM is a very respectable award. I was given 2 of them in my career, but this was a cut above. This really was, other than battlefield type of stuff, this was significant. So that's I'm making sure I'm making sure this kitty does not restart my computer. So that's the type of things I saw both in the American military and in the Afghan government. And it's a pretty good story to show the type of things that we're dealing with. And it all creates the situations that you're seeing right now. People not listening to your subordinates, not listening to them say, here's what we need to do the job that you're asking, to the level that you are asking us to do it. That's where you see the challenges of having the Afghans take over. Their soldiers aren't even being paid. Why would they fight? If you're not going to pay me and take care of me or my family, why would I risk myself? At least the people fighting with the Taliban know that the Taliban's going to either take care of them or kill them. So it's like what was his name? The drug cartel leader. I'll give you the silver or the lead. Which one do you want? The silver, you're going to get paid off, or you're going to be chewing on some lead. So that's the type of things you're seeing. Those are a couple examples of directly from my service of what I experienced there. And hopefully this gives people out there a little bit of an insight. I've had a lot of people ask me here in the last couple of days, well, how is it affecting you? It's really not. What's happening in Afghanistan, I could tell when I was there, it was the Obama administration. I could tell under that administration, I saw a little bit in Afghanistan. I saw it further when Syria, everything happened there. The administration was unable to tell us what they needed, how to do it, anything like that. If they just had said, here's the policy, here's what we want, we would have executed just fine. But instead there was this vacuum where it was like we were asking questions and we were never getting answers back. And it was like, well, what is the expectation? What do you want us to do? So that was a big issue then. I'm seeing it now. That's why I'm not surprised by anything. When I went there, I very quickly determined that my job here is to bring my Marines home alive and do my job well. I did both. So the way I see it, my time there was a success, and no one can ever take that from me. So I hope you've enjoyed today's show. I know it's just doing some war stories. This cat knocks everything over. So I hope you enjoy my war stories. Hope it gives you a little bit of insight of the type of things I saw and what I expected out of this. if you please leave a comment on the video if you think I'm right, think I'm wrong. If you're an Afghanistan veteran and you saw something different, hey, let me know what you saw. This conversation is going to be going, I think, for a while. This is something that history is going to talk about for generations. I'm still very proud that I had a hand in it and I could do good work out there. So that's today's show. I hope you've enjoyed it. And for those of you out there, thank you for being worth serving.